Chapter 6. Sara couldn't remember a time that it was easy for her to concentrate on what was going on in the classroom. School is truly the most boring place on earth, she had concluded long ago. But this day, without exception, was the hardest that Sara had ever experienced. She couldn't keep her mind on what the teacher was saying. Her mind kept drifting back to the ticket. And as soon as the last bell rang, Sara stuffed her book back into her locker and went directly there. "I'm probably crazy," Sara murmured to herself as she walked deeper and deeper into the thicket, making her own trail in the deep snow as she moved along. "I'm looking for a silly bird that's probably not even real. Well, if I don't see him right away, I'm leaving. I don't want Jason to know that I'm here or that I'm even interested in this bird." Sara stopped to listen. It was so still that she could hear her own breathing. She couldn't see one other living creature, not a bird, not a squirrel, nothing. In fact, if it were not for the tracks that Sara and Jason and the lone dog had left there yesterday, Sara might have thought she was indeed the only one alive on the planet. This was truly a beautiful winter day. The sun had been shining brightly all afternoon, and the top crust of the snow was shiny and wet as it was slowly melting. Everything was glistening. Ordinarily, a day like this would make Sara's heart sing. What could be better than to be off all alone, thinking her own thoughts on a beautiful day like this? But Sara felt irritated. She had hoped that Solomon would be easy to find. Somehow, thinking about the thicket and the possibility of spotting this mysterious bird had piqued Sara's interest. But now, standing here alone, knee-deep in snow, Sara began to feel foolish. Where is this bird? Oh, forget it. I'm going home. In her frustration, Sara stood in the middle of the thicket, feeling angry and overwhelmed and somewhat confused. She started backtracking out of the thicket, the way she had come in, but then stopped to consider if it would be faster to cross through the pasture that she so often used as a shortcut during the summer months. I'm sure the river is frozen over by now. Maybe I can cross it here, somewhere where it's narrow, Sara thought, as she ducked under the single wire fence. Sara was surprised by how disoriented she was here in the winter. She had passed through this pasture hundreds of times. This was a pasture where her uncle kept his horse during the summer months. But everything looked very different with all of her familiar landmarks buried beneath the snow. The river was completely iced over here and was covered by several inches of snow. Sara stopped, trying to remember where the narrowest point was. And then she felt the ice giving way beneath her feet. And before she knew it, she was flat on her back on the very tentative ice, with cold water quickly soaking through her clothes. Sara flashed back to the amazing ride this river had given her before, and for a moment she felt real panic, imagining a repeat of that ride. But in this freezing cold water, being carried downstream to a frozen death. "Have you forgotten that you cannot drown?" A kind voice spoke from somewhere over Sara's head. "Who's there?" Sara asked, looking all around, staring up into the bare trees, squinting from the glare of the sun that was glistening and reflecting off of the snow-covered everything around her. "Whoever you are, why don't you help me out of here?" Sara thought. As she lay on the cracking ice, frightened that any movement might cause the ice to give way beneath her. "The ice will hold you. Just roll over onto your knees and crawl over here," her mysterious friend said. So, without looking up, Sara rolled over onto her stomach, and ever so slowly she pulled herself up onto her knees. And then, gingerly, she began crawling in the direction of the voice. Sara was in no mood for conversation, not now. She was wet and very cold, and really mad at herself for doing something so stupid. What she was most interested in right now was getting home and changing before anyone else came home and caught her in her tattletale clothes. "I've gotta go," Sara said, squinting into the sun in the direction of whomever she had been talking to. She began picking her way back through her own tracks, very cold and irritated by her decision to try to cross the silly river. And then it hit her. "Hey, how do you know that I can never drown?" No answer came back to her. "Where do you go? Hey, where are you?" Sara called. And then the biggest bird Sara had ever seen took flight from the treetop, soared high into the sky, circled the thicket and pastures below, and disappeared into the sun. Sara stood in amazement, squinting into the sunlight. "Solomon!"